Well, hi everyone. It's Pete here from the Pain Toolkit. Hey, listen, I feel a bit outnumbered here today. I've got three young ladies with me today called Cindy, Helen, and Kirsten. And guess what? They're all from South Africa. And good afternoon to you guys. Hmm.
Hi, Pete. It's always good to be with you. Thank you for having us.
Hey, listen
Yeah.
now. Now? Let me just why are we doing a meeting with them, a Zoom meeting? Because Helen and Co. They've been very proactive, developing a hub for people living with fibromyalgia and etc. So without ado, I'm going to hand over to Helen, who's going to chat amongst themselves, and I'll come in a little bit at the end probably where if they want to ask me any questions, etc. And also to do a little bit of an advert for the up and coming fifth Pain Supported Self-Management conference in later this month. So, Helen, without ado, I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, well, thanks, Pete. As you said, the reason we're getting together today is to promote pain-supported self-management. And you've got that week coming up, the 16th to the 21st of February. And I know your conference on the 21st of February, you've got an awesome lineup of international speakers. Laura Mosley, Joletta Belton, I can name many of them, but awesome lineup. So thank you for having us because we are all about promoting pain self-management too, but particularly around fibromyalgia. So it's great to be with you today because we want to promote your event. We want to promote that week. We want to talk about what we're doing as collaborators with you in pain self-management. So I'm going to ask Cindy and Kirsty to just give us a little bit of an intro, and then I will. And we're just going to chat about what we're doing with FibroHub, why it's important, what the challenges for people with pain-supported self-management are. So Cindy, do you want to kick us off? What is your background? Where are you coming from?
So, yeah, thanks so much for having me today. It's really great to be here. So I live in Porto, and but I was born in South Africa, and I'm a health coach. I do have training in a coaching approach to pain management, and I live with fibromyalgia myself. So I'm a little bit on in both camps. And what's particularly important to me is to work from a trauma-informed point of view, as well as to be inclusive of particularly people with neurodivergence, but generally inclusive of anyone who would like to join in. So I co-founded FibroHub with Helen and Kirsty as a community for women where we blend research-backed education and coaching and community.
Mm.
And yeah, it comes from a place of, it's a really personal place for me.
Mm, mm. So living with fibromyalgia as well, Cindy, plus your coaching experience, and we'll get into what we're doing together soon. Kirsty, do you want to give us a bit of an intro into yourself?
Sure. So I'm Kirsty, and I also live in South Africa, was born and raised in South Africa, and I am a registered life coach with an interest in holistic healing and personal self-development. I'm really interested in the person as a unique individual and looking at people as unique people. And I am someone who also lives with fibromyalgia. And so that lived experience alongside the coaching um, experience is, I feel, really powerful in this field. And yeah, I just feel so privileged to be a part of this and to be involved with this. It feels really meaningful to me. So.
Mm. Thanks, Kirsty. And then I'm Helen, Helen Room. I'm an occupational therapist living on the east coast of South Africa, near Durban. And I've been an OT for 30 years, but for the last decade of that, have narrowed my scope of practice to chronic pain and developed a particular interest in fibromyalgia when close friends of mine were diagnosed with fibromyalgia. It was something on my clinical radar, but really not in my area of interest until I had a number of friends diagnosed. And so it's become more and more an area of interest with support groups and so on. But Kirsty, Cindy, and I got together over a year ago now, and we started to just talk about our compassion for people with fibromyalgia. We started to talk about our shared just passion for offering something really helpful, but also hopeful. And I think I want to ask Cindy and Kirsty to just share from their experiences. First of all, what have been the challenges sort of since your own diagnosis and just in your own experience, the challenges in finding the right kind of support, the right kind of information as women living with fibromyalgia?
Yeah, the early days were quite challenging. Just being believed and being told that I was depressed or stressed and feeling that there was something different going on, and just feeling like I was being turned away, that I wasn't being taken seriously, and not really knowing where to turn, not really knowing where to get support. And the kind of bits in between, because I would visit one doctor who would have a look at one particular aspect of what I was concerned about or what I was struggling with. And they would then say, but you have to see a different specialist to deal with that particular part. And for me, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia in perimenopause. And so the sort of intersection of where the pain management and balancing my hormones, there was kind of like, I just felt like no one was really paying attention to that. So yeah, I think being believed, being heard, being seen is definitely some of the challenges that I experienced in the early days.
Mm.
Yeah, I
Kirsty,
think
for you, because you've been diagnosed for also about 10 years now, isn't it?
15 actually. So yeah, I think I would agree with Cindy and just say that the amount of years it took for me to get a diagnosis was a lot. About 7 years it took me, and the rigorous testing and in and out of hospital just to be misdiagnosed and misunderstood was really difficult. And also experienced a fair amount of being told I'm imagining things or there's nothing wrong with me. That was hard. So finally to be able to have answers and to have a way forward and being able to self-manage now has totally changed my life.
Yeah.
Because in all that time, were either of you ever offered or just did it ever come up? Was it ever suggested by any healthcare practitioner that there were options besides medication, or there were things you could do at home yourself? Was any of that ever raised in your sort of clinical encounters?
So for me, not at all. And I think there wasn't much. I was diagnosed in the 2010s in my mid-40s, so I'm giving my age away here. But there wasn't a lot of information about fibromyalgia around, so I felt like a lot of healthcare practitioners or the people that I was talking to at the time didn't really have a lot of information. And so one of the things that came up with most of the people that I spoke to was for me to be less stressed, which was probably a fair point, but I didn't know how. I have a family. I had 5 children at home. I didn't know what steps to take to be less stressed. I didn't know how to manage that. But no one spoke to me about my hormones. No one spoke to me about nutrition, and particularly in those early days. I did connect with the support group that you were running, Helen, and then I did get more information available at that stage. But in those very early days, there was not a lot of information or knowledge around fibromyalgia.
Yeah, and so I think for myself, I would have a similar answer. And I think for me, most of my symptoms were fatigue related instead of pain related. And so I was either misdiagnosed with a completely different diagnosis, for example, a mini stroke, or I was told that the fatigue I could do nothing about, that it was just something I would have to live with. And so, yeah, no, nothing helpful. I didn't even know what fibromyalgia was. I'd never heard of it.
Mm. So, I
Mm.
mean, both of you raise that point of how fibromyalgia, particularly as a chronic pain condition, is firstly still often misunderstood, seen as mysterious, or at the very worst, as I think Kirsty, you said, kind of seen as imaginary or not believed. So we've got that hurdle. But then we've got the next hurdle, which many people with any kind of chronic pain condition face, which is that healthcare practitioners don't necessarily know a lot about how to equip people with chronic pain with those self-management strategies. They offer what they have in their toolbox, which is surgery, pills, maybe some manual therapy, a massage. So there is a lack of that education. And then when you look online and you look for support groups online, what have you found that kind of prompted you to say, well, this is not enough, or we need to do something different?
So I'm really glad that you brought up the topic of online. And in the early days, there was very little information. And I'm someone who has always deeply researched anything that's going on in my life. And a lot of the information in the early days said that it was psychosomatic. And so, to be honest, it became a secret that I didn't tell doctors because I was afraid they would judge me. But nowadays, online, if you have a look, there's so much information, but some of it is wrong and some of it is scary and intimidating. And so, like, there's quick fixes out there. And so, not all of the information is evidence based. And for me, that really makes me feel like I need to step up to the plate and be sure that people who are in a similar position to me are that I'm sharing information that is research backed, that people can believe, that people can trust, and use as a starting point to build solutions in their own lives.
Mm, mm. And I have to just say, Cindy, personally as a clinician, so I am of the three of us on this FibroHub team, I am not living with fibromyalgia. I'm a clinician. But what's always been important to me as a clinician is to practice from the evidence base, we say, from the research. And so to offer research-backed resources and education, because actually, if we keep up with the research, we're not only being helpful, we're being hopeful. Because if we understand fibromyalgia with an updated understanding, a current understanding, we'll know that actually there are many more things that people with fibromyalgia can do for themselves, and that the things that contribute to the experience of fibromyalgia can be targeted. There are things we can address. There are things that can be potentially reversed and reset. So there is a lot of hope if we base what we're doing on that research. So that's been my experience too, of looking at what's available for fibromyalgia, looking at what other clinicians are doing and saying, but is it research based? Because if it is, we can offer some real hope. Kirsty, what did you find when you started trying to look beyond sort of your healthcare practitioners and start looking online and looking for that kind of help?
So I did not do a lot of searching online. I think because I had already not been given many answers, I didn't think I could find them online. But I did come across a post of yours that listed symptoms, and all of those symptoms were symptoms that I had. So I thought, oh, well, this is worth exploring. And so I went and booked an appointment and got help through you, and that was life-changing for me. So yeah, I learned all these researched back tools that you're talking about, and I've put them into practice. They've been great.
And Pete, the pain toolkit is also incredibly research backed. It's well grounded in all of the resources you offer, are well grounded in what we know works for people with chronic pain. And what are your thoughts on what those challenges are that remain in terms of getting supported self-management off the ground? Why do we still need to raise this and keep fighting the good fight about this?
Oh no, no, you don't. You want to put me on my soapbox? Listen, what Cindy and Kirsten have been sharing this morning. Uh, it's nothing new. Going back in the day, like when I first started out, I'd never heard of the word fibromyalgia, and when I went to conferences, I was talking to like pain management conferences, and I would say to them about fibromyalgia, and they say, well, it's a fairly new one. We're not really sure what's the best treatment or process or whatever. So from my experience, fibromyalgia is and to the medical seems, I think it's what probably more talked about now. But back in the day, I wasn't quite sure whether they're still sure what to do. Is another story. But the thing is, the things that you're flagging up, Cindy, Kirsten, it's sort of in the realms of long-term conditions, like because other people with long-term conditions experience similar problems, like and in fact, today myself and Keith Meldrum, where today this is hot news, hot off the presses. We've launched a new website called the Self Management Toolkit, which is purely for long-term conditions, and obviously fibromyalgia will fall into that because
Right.
it's about. I think once you've had a diagnosis, and I think that's a tricky bit. It's what I'm getting from you guys, that not being believed, and the reason. I always remember talking to Amanda Williams, who helped me back in the day as she clinical psychologist from London, and I asked her why I call it people go shopping, therapy shopping, doctor shopping, because they've never had a clear diagnosis. So if they're not given a clear diagnosis, they're going to be, well, I'll try this and try that, etc. And so, but really, fibromyalgia is just one of those, another long-term condition that
Mm,
can be managed by just, I would call it simple, basic supportive self-management skills, like,
mm,
once we put
mm.
that on both sort of websites, Pain Toolkit and now the Self-Management Toolkit. And
Right.
but it's mainly thing is getting a diagnosis, but it's about giving people the schools, sorry, giving people the skills and tools. More importantly, the confidence to
Yeah.
manage their condition themselves. I call it getting them back in the driving seat, back on track, etc. So
Right.
really,
Right.
that needs to be, for me, always the main aim. Really, I mean, I live with multiple health conditions, long-term health conditions, but I don't really tune into them because I'm a self-manager of all of them. So
Yes.
whether I'm not going to go from all of you to it now, but because I keep it nice and simple, I do me meaningful movement every day and pace my daily
Yeah.
activities, set goals, action plans, etc. I seem to be have a more fulfilling life, really. But the main thing is having the confidence to do that, But it's,
Yes. Yeah.
that one thing when I talk to people with long-term conditions, they lose their confidence.
Mm,
They get stuck in that
mm.
mental model.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we want people to be confident because they are gaining those tools and those skills and those strategies. And we were talking just now, we were giving a lot of emphasis to research-backed resources, but it isn't enough, is it? It's more than that. And so with FibroHub, we needed to look at what was out there and what was available, but also plot a different course and do more than just offer people a whole pile of resources, because that can also be overwhelming, right? Is that
Mm, mm,
here's 3 million videos, here's all the things you should be doing, you must be doing, but it's overwhelming. And where do we start and what do we do? So maybe we can chat quickly about what does FibroHub do differently, And what, apart from research-backed resources, do people actually need? Because it's definitely more than that, isn't it?
Yeah, so much more than that. And perhaps I can just speak to one of those, and that's the aspect of community. And and it's something that's the community aspect is really important to me because in South Africa, when I was living in Durban, I had a community of people around me. I was part of a support group. And then I moved, and as an expat in a different country, um, navigating a different language, it became really difficult for me to have community. And I did find that as I slipped out of community, I became less accountable for my symptoms and maybe less motivated or more distracted. And so I had the community and understood the benefit of it. And then also have lived without that community support aspect. And so FibroHub is a place that brings community to women, the possibility of community. And I also, the even today, just being in the room with Pete, being in the room with Kirsten, being in the room with others who have experienced chronic pain, it's healing for me. It's healing to be in the presence of others who I know have worked similar, or albeit not the same, journeys. Um, so
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah,
So it's the support in the self-management that you're talking
right.
about, Cindy. Yeah. Kirsty?
yeah, I was going to say, I think it's that validation that there's nothing wrong with you. You are normal, you, and there's other people that can relate to you that is so healing. And you're right, since it is community is healing. And so at FibroHub, we offer two different support groups. One is called Fibro Cafe, where it's a little bit more conversational and people can share and ask questions. And then there's Fibro Club, which is a little bit more structured. And I think both of these just will facilitate healing for people.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
simple way.
So, so it was important for us to not just create a bunch of resources that people can access whenever they like, because people have different lives and different routines and different paces of working through resources. But it was also about creating these opportunities for community, for support from people who are living with fibromyalgia as well. And then I think the other thing that we've done on FibroHub is we've created a tool that people can use to organize those resources, because we always talk about how pain is such a personal experience. Everybody's experience of chronic pain is unique and personal. But then we tend to make resources that we say, well, now everyone can benefit, and yes, people can benefit from those. But we tend to not give people ways to actually use those resources well. As an occupational therapist, I've said this before in other conversations, but often people will come my way and it's like they dump on the desk in front of me a pile of puzzle pieces. And they say, okay, here's all the stuff that I've been told I should do. The physio says this, my doctor says that, someone else says I must meditate. It's a pile of puzzle pieces, but often what we end up needing to do is actually create a picture so we know what are those puzzle pieces meant to look like, give a framework and put it together. So on the FibroHub, one of the things we've done is created our travel guide, which helps people answer a series of questions so that they can see, okay, where am I at? Where do I want to be? What are the roadblocks that stop me getting to the life I want to be living? And so how am I going to use these resources in a planned way? It's all about having a plan to make the progress that we want towards that life that we want to be living. So the travel guide helps people create their personal roadmap which they can then keep going back to. Pete, it's all about goal setting, action planning. So we're helping people set goals, but we're not just having random goals. They're signposts. They're saying, okay, when I meet this goal, I move on to another one. And all the time I am moving closer to the life I want to be living.
Yeah.
So community, validation, support, personalizing the resources that we offer. How else are we different, and what are we offering people that's maybe unique?
One of the things that I really love about what we have is that we're not just looking at the person in terms of their symptoms. We're looking at the whole person. And so we're looking at life beyond pain. We're looking at hopes and dreams. We're looking at what's really important in people's lives. What are their values? What do they want to be pursuing? And so that's like so much more the bigger picture of their lives. And so for me, it's important that I have more quality time with my family, but that might not be the same for another person. And so it's about being able to take what's really important in your life and be able to work towards creating that. So I love that aspect.
And that's where you come in quite a lot, Kirsty, because as a life coach, one of your key sort of roles on the team is to introduce these aspects of personal growth and purposeful living. It's all about not just managing a condition, right?
Right.
What's exciting for you about that? What do you want people to get from those resources?
I think what's exciting about that for me is just that people can learn that they don't have to stay stuck in one place, that they can get to the point. There is hope for them to the point of being able to achieve dreams and being able to live more purposely rather than feeling like they stuck in the same rut the whole time and they have to work really, really hard every day just to manage their symptoms. But they actually can get to a place where they can start pursuing interests again. Yeah, maybe for the first time in 10 years, maybe for the first time in 20 years, who knows? And that to me is super exciting. It's empowering, really empowering. And I'm excited about that.
Yeah, because if we say that we're seeing the whole person, I think we must mean that we're seeing the person apart from the symptoms and apart from the condition, right?
Right.
As clinicians, we can tend to focus on what's wrong, what are the problems, what is the lack, what does this person need less of in their life, less pain, less fatigue. But in fact, if we flip that over, what we want to do is look at what does this person need more of in their life? More joy, more fun, more social support. Yeah, more, not less. And as a whole person, as a woman living with fibromyalgia, you are much more than that. You are a mother, you are a friend, you are working in a job of some kind. There are all these roles. And so when people look on FibroHub, they're going to find resources relating to, yes, pain and those sort of symptoms. They're going to find resources relating to the daily life challenges of those. They're going to find resources around how to grow as a person and live a purposeful life beyond their condition. And then I want to come back to you, Cindy, and say that they're also going to find those resources about perimenopause and why do we have that pathway? Why are we including that in our resources?
So it's really interesting. I'm not sure if you're aware of the fact that about 70% of all women in perimenopause or menopause experience pain of some sort. And living with fibromyalgia and particularly during perimenopause and menopause, and that's when I was diagnosed, I began to notice changes related to the hormonal changes that were taking place in my body. And as I've said before, I thoroughly research everything. I love learning. And so I began to be very interested in what was the relationship between fibromyalgia and hormonal changes. And the more I read, the more I found that there was an intersection between the two and an overlap of many symptoms. But what that creates is it's kind of like a layered situation where some people were being misdiagnosed with fibromyalgia, or some people had fibromyalgia and perimenopause, and the hormones weren't being looked at. And so, as women, that's a very important part of our lives, and it's so to actually understand that. And like with fibromyalgia, there is such a plethora of information and so much fear mongering going on around menopause and perimenopause. And I just really feel that it's important that, I know in the UK, a lot of practitioners have stepped up to the plate to ensure that there's evidence-based information available, but to also just be on that in that place. But then also, obviously, having lived with the experience of how my hormonal changes impacted on my pain, on my sleep, on the brain fog that I experienced, and on being able to get through a day sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. So being able to navigate perimenopause well will help navigate fibromyalgia if that's something that the person already
absolutely.
and has been diagnosed with. So I'm very aware that I'm sitting in a room with people who have been living with pain for quite a long time. And I think, if we look back at this, the rise of supported self-management, one of the things we notice is that more and more healthcare practitioners are starting to pay attention and want to support it and do something. But how often are people actually living with pain included in that, in the development of these resources? And Cindy and Kirsty, what's been so great is that as we've teamed up together, and it's been over a year of developing FibroHub, it's been so important to keep going back to both of your experience of living with chronic pain, living with fibromyalgia, and to keep letting that inform what we do, and to make sure that the voice of people living with fibromyalgia, living with chronic pain, is heard. And from the very beginning, what do all three of you feel about the partnership between healthcare practitioners and people living with pain? And are we doing enough to include people living with pain from the very beginning, or is it something we tag on at the end as a kind of tick that box, or what do you feel?
Tick boxing.
Pete, you feel,
Yeah,
I mean, you've had
oh
many
yeah,
years
oh
of
yeah.
this.
We are tick boxers, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, just to say, oh, we've included the patient. Yeah, but that's why we started off myself and Keith, we started up the conferences because we wasn't getting invited to, if you go to a pain conference, it's all healthcare professionals. In Australia,
Right.
patients aren't allowed anywhere near the conference, or even if they're self-managers, and
Wow.
but so that's why reason we started up the conferences, and the reason why we started was the role model to the pain organisations around the world, but that about being inclusive, not exclusive,
Yes.
but inclusive.
Yes.
And as you know, Helen, at the conferences there's three healthcare professionals, and we have three patients or self-managers. So, so,
Right.
so what we're trying to do is role model to the organisations out there. This is how it should be. It's about, say, being inclusive and not
Yes.
exclusive, but
Yes.
very,
Yes.
it's still very medically model driven, research thing. We can't move up. Well, where's the research on that? People, mate. We're people. You look as size of another planet to understand
Yes.
everything that's going on. But
Mm,
I was closed on this because I know you guys want to share. But um, he, pain, fibromyalgia, pain. We just need simple information for people that become complicated.
Mm.
You know, through no fault of their own. They're stuck in a medical model, being driven around, you know, from this one to that one, etc. And but listen, can I just go back a little bit to where you guys were talking about support and everything? People learn from people.
Yes.
Mm.
When I worked on the NHS Expert Patients Program, the courses were for people with fibro, uh, all long-term conditions. All could identify with each other, but what they got out of the group is the two dudes out the front, or the trainers, all we were doing, but we were just guiding people through the course, etc. But our everyone was helping to support each other. Yeah, well, yeah, that happened to me. This is what I did. Perhaps you might want to try that. You know.
Mm.
Mm,
So,
mm,
and I think people are
mm.
more likely to take advice or suggestions from other people like themselves,
Mm.
Yes.
and not from someone who's read read a bit of research, etc. Like, you know.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, before Cindy and Kirsty kind, so I find because I run pain groups just as part of my practice that I can say something and I know it's research backed and I'm I'm confident in what I'm saying, and it will land okay, and people will listen. But if someone in that group living with chronic pain says the same thing, it lands so much better.
Yeah.
There is a there's obviously the authentic experience to support it. So we need both. We need research back, but we need real life and we need authentic sharing. But something that we've done with FibroHub is made sure that we are including this from the start. And Cindy and Kirsty, I just wonder if you want to comment on what it's been like for you to team up like this and to be involved from the very beginning with something like this and how important it is uh, from your perspective.
Mm. Yeah.
Go for it, Sin.
Kirst, there you go.
So I think for me, it's been incredibly validating and just it's been uplifting and it's been wonderful to dive into this project because it's just yeah, it's given me more purpose in my life as well. And I also wanted to just thank you, Helen and Pete, for being inclusive and just setting that example because it's actually bringing real authentic change. It really is. Um, yeah.
Mm. Yeah. I think for me, it's been incredibly healing. I, as I said in the early days, I was quite secretive about my fibromyalgia because I felt that people would judge me, and I did have some situations that in kind of medical situations where I did really feel I wasn't believed and I was judged. But um, I in this process, I've had the opportunity to talk about my experience and share it with people. And I've been so touched at how interested people are, how they've gone and done research. Gosh, I didn't know that about fibromyalgia. And to invest some of what I've experienced in my own life into the project and to yeah, to just know that we are creating a platform for for voices that have often been silenced and not
Mm,
believed.
mm.
Yeah.
And I think we, more than creating that platform, we actually are wanting our members to begin to shape this community with us, aren't we? So we're
Mm.
saying we've created a community for women with fibromyalgia. We want to hear your voice. We want you to be heard. But more than that, it's not just about hearing, it's about um, facilitating or inviting the shaping of this community. So that's something we really want to uphold as we go forward is how do we change along with our membership in our community? We're not just going to stick with what we think is right and good, but to be shaped as more members join and to really listen to what women with fibromyalgia need.
Mm.
But listening to you both, I must say it just brings back to me again what I imagine is quite a vulnerable thing. You know, Pete, you've been doing this for many years. You're probably quite used to talking about your challenges and your chronic pain and everyone, you know, and when you've been on a platform for a long time, but actually I'm reminded again today of how vulnerable it might be to even just admit a diagnosis or to admit a struggle and a challenge. And yeah, I just respect and honor both of you for being prepared to share that with the world, actually. Um, and what we're trying to do here with FibroHub is create what it's a term I only heard last year for the first time, an infrastructure of kindness. Pete, I don't know if you've heard that term before, but I came across it somewhere and it said we must build infrastructures of kindness. So creating places and opportunities and online structures where people will experience kindness and can then have that confidence, have that opportunity to grow, to heal. And that means including the voice of people living with fibromyalgia from the start. So
Mm.
maybe if I can ask us to just close with some thoughts about what do we hope that our members are going to experience. What do we hope FibroHub is going to do for women with fibromyalgia? What is the experience we want people to have when they join and become part of this community?
I've I a sense of connection, a sense of validation, an opportunity to speak their truth, an opportunity to be heard, and an opportunity to engage with resources that meet them where they're at. So not where someone else says they're at, but where they at, and for them to be fully in charge of the process from there onwards, and
Mm, mm,
and to have a vision for their lives. Um,
mm, mm. Kirsty, what do you want for people who join the FibroHub community?
I think most importantly, I think I would want women to experience hope for those
Mm,
women who have given up hope and who don't actually think there is hope anymore, for them to actually find hope and realize, oh my goodness, just as I did for myself, oh my goodness, there is life beyond this. That is what
mm,
I want people to have that switch not only in their minds, but in their bodies and in their lives. So
mm, mm.
yeah,
yeah.
and to be
And then
given
move
back.
beyond that,
Mm, yeah.
move beyond that. Yeah.
Can
So
I,
Makes
can
sense.
I, can I add something? Just go and
Mm-hmm.
have fun.
Did you
Just
say
Yes.
have
fun.
fun, Pete?
Just
I
go and have
missed
fun.
that.
Yes.
If you're in, don't let your health condition be your
Mm,
boss you around. Get yourself back in
mm,
the driver's seat.
yes.
Get back on
yes,
track and
exactly.
have fun. You wasn't here
Mm,
to, you know, self-management is like for me is a godsend. It is a godsend for everyone, like,
mm,
Yes.
But let's keep it simple, get out there and have some fun. I mean, you was
mm,
talking about earlier on, I don't know if you could see me smiling, you were talking about getting all your stuff. And straight away I'm started thinking about, when the warmer weather comes along, I'm back on my Harley. Out there,
Yes. Yes.
and
awesome.
all the hard work I do, to self-manage, I do
Yes.
my daily exercises, stretching, walking and whatever, and
Mm,
go down in gym
Yes.
and eat
mm,
healthy and stuff like that.
Yes.
I have to do it, and then I have fun.
mm,
Yes.
yeah.
It ain't,
Because we forget. Sorry, Pete. Mm-hmm.
it's just, you know, I think we get logged, anchored into, I've got this, I've got that,
Yes.
Mm,
I don't, as I said earlier,
absolutely.
I don't get, I've got
Mm,
several anchors, so I'm not going to go
mm,
through now, but, and I can,
yeah.
that can drag me, it's like I can go around with a ball and chain.
Mm,
But
Mm.
that
Yeah.
ain't living.
yeah.
Living is doing
Yeah.
stuff like, doing what I want
Yeah.
to do. you know, and
Mm,
Yeah.
stop it. If a problem comes along, how the hell do I get round it?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm,
Oh,
Yeah.
well, something's happened. Oh, what should I do?
Yeah.
I better go and see the GP or go and see the doctor and stuff like that. You know,
mm,
something to
Yeah.
work. You know, good self-managers, we work things out. You know, we're problem solvers.
mm,
You know, but
Yeah.
get their
mm.
confidence back to do that. Have fun.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, yeah. Grab life with both
Come on,
hands.
baby. We can do this.
Well, we forget, hey, we forget that the whole point of self-management is not just to manage. It's not just to manage the condition, the symptoms. That's not enough. No, that's not a life for
Yeah,
anybody.
in
That's not
nature.
enough.
Have a walk around in nature. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you've got a lovely, wonderful country out there. I mean, I watch the program, I'm watching TV with these places that all the animals roam and stuff like that. I'm sitting there, God, that looks so lovely out there, you know. And, you know, they're using nature now. You know, they in some countries,
Yeah.
nature, they prescribe it, you know.
Right. Right.
Health creation, but you've got to get into nature. Go and hug a tree,
Yes.
you know, walk
Yeah.
past, see if you're near some rivers or a seaside, yeah, or go and
Mm,
Totally.
yeah, do stuff like that and you know, have fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So more than just coping, more than just managing, more than just getting
It's
through a day,
something.
it's about what is the life I want to be living? What gives that meaning and purpose?
Yeah, coping's not much, yeah.
And getting,
Coping
yeah,
is getting by. What the hell, you know, I don't
yeah,
want to get by.
mm,
Self-management,
yeah,
taking action,
absolutely.
you know.
yeah.
Come on, we can
So,
do this.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
before I ask for Cindy and I mean before I share just where people can find out more info, I'm just wondering if there are any last sort of comments from Cindy and Kirsty. Maybe we haven't asked questions that raise them, but just any last comments from both of you about FibroHub and what it is we're trying to do with FibroHub and what we're hoping for.
I really, yeah, um, yeah, it's giving people, it's giving people the opportunity to reclaim days in their lives, to reclaim fun in their lives, to reclaim making dinner for their children. It's just, yeah, um, I just, yeah, I just, it's, I, I guess it's just seeing transformation in people's lives and as we have felt it ourselves.
Mm. Kirsty,
Yeah.
any
That's it.
last thoughts? Mm.
Mhm. Yeah, I think just when you've been struggling for so long with something, it's hard to look beyond. It's hard to look beyond yourself sometimes, and I feel like FibroHub is giving women an opportunity to get help, get hope, and then look beyond themselves eventually, and not living from a place of chronic illness is my identity, but it's actually there's so much more for me, and there's so much more um, to me than fibromyalgia.
Mm. And Pete, I mean, you've listened in today and kind of got a better picture of what we're doing here. Any last sort of thoughts from you before I share?
Well,
Um,
you're just,
mm,
I mean, you're starting out on it and etc. Reminds me when I started out the pain toolkit, like, you know, it's wanted it to be a place of safety where people can
Mm,
come
mhm,
and share. But mainly it's about flipping people around, like, you know, get them, you know, disconnect that anchor that that's been attached to them by healthcare
mm,
professionals, as it was for me and many others. Keep
mm,
yourself in the driving seat, you know, that's the main
mm.
thing,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
but you
yeah.
need that, the camaraderie. I'll ask you guys a question. Where self-management isn't new, okay? When do you think self-management started up?
Are you asking us, are
Yeah.
you asking to give a date?
Yeah, give me a date, not the actual date, but
Yeah,
a year.
yeah.
So you've
I
asked
think
me this before, so I'm going to keep quiet
Okay.
and see
uh-huh.
if
I'm guessing, like you said earlier, early 90s.
Way before that.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've heard of it. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll give you another clue. Which is the biggest supported self-management organisation globally that has a self-management program attached to it?
Is it
Oh,
Alcoholics Anonymous?
Yeah,
Well done, Cindy.
Mm,
yeah, I and all the
mm,
12-step programs, see. And the
Yeah,
reason why all that works is because they have
mm,
structure and people feel safe there.
mm,
They go there and they share. They can share
mm,
anything's bugging them, but they've got a structured program.
mm,
That's what you guys have got,
mm,
your FibroHub and whatnot. You've got
mm.
a
that's the
structure.
1800s, right? The
No,
1800s?
19 about mid-30s, 1930s.
Oh,
Wow.
wow. Okay, I was going too far back. But I
Yeah.
know when you asked me this question, I didn't know. So, Cindy, well done. You got it.
A
Mm,
place called so-and-so Akron in Iowa, Ohio.
Okay.
So, I don't
Yes,
know how to pronounce it.
yes,
Yeah, two people
mm,
started off, and so it's not new. Ain't so
yeah,
what you guys are doing that is not rocket. You ain't plucked out. It's self-management, but it's only because people talk to each other,
mm,
etc., and they support each
yes,
mm,
other. And but it's got to have a structure. That's why
yes,
mm.
the programs they've got a program, but they stick to got
Yeah.
traditions, etc. But once you got
Mm,
that, you're off and running.
mm,
That's
yes,
why I sort of with a pain toolkit. It was a place of safety where people would go get some simple information. We're very people with long-term conditions. We're very visual learners, so
yeah,
things like this, they'll love that sort of stuff because it's uh, they make you also with your material. Don't forget to be inclusive, so people with
yes,
impairments and stuff like that.
yes.
I
mm.
like
So
the
maybe if I can, so maybe if I can share where people can find
yeah, do that.
our
Yeah,
site.
there you go.
So let me just do this. All right. So if people want to find out more about FibroHub, they can go to our website and then just nicely bookending your pain supported self management week, Pete, is that we have our launch event on Saturday, the 14th of February.
Brilliant.
That's the QR code on the right-hand side here. So it's all online. It's midway through the morning because we're catering for people across the globe. So people can go to the Quicket site to book tickets for our launch event and find out more, or they can look at the website. So our launch event is the 14th of Feb, and then we've got your pain supported self-management week running from the 16th all the way through to the 21st. And people can obviously look at your site for more information about that, as well as the fifth World Online Conference for Pain Supported Self Management
Wow.
happening now at the end of that week on the 21st of February. And so I think there's some great events and there's some great resources that are going to be shared between your platform and our platform during that week to really highlight again just how powerful supported self-management can be, and particularly for people living with chronic pain and fibromyalgia.
Yeah, myself and Keith, we're going to be doing Instagram lives around 5 o'clock each day, Monday through from the 16th to the 20th. So if you want to come and via the Instagram patent toolkit, if you want to come and listen in or tune in or take part, etc., you'd be most welcome.
Thank
It's,
Great.
you.
uh, it's been great
And
today.
the hashtag Pete's, it's PSSM26, am I right?
Yeah, yeah, this is the fifth one we've done. So we've got
wow.
some lineup. Some people you're quite well known in the pain community, but we're not exclusive. We also got people may not have heard, but we're aware of who do carry a good message. That's what you guys have done today. You've carried the message. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why I'm just a messenger boy.
Mm,
Well, thank you for letting us share the message on your platform, Pete, and we'll be sharing this video on ours as well. But thank you again for inviting us and for letting us just have free reign talking
mm,
about what we've been doing for women with fibromyalgia on FibroHub.
mm.
Yeah, you're welcome. So
Thank you so much, Pete. It's been great to
Absolutely.
meet you.
I'm going to stop sharing, but stick around. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. We'll see you
Thanks,
again.
Pete.
Have a
Thank you so much.
video.
Thank you.
Have a groovy
Bye.
day. Ciao.